Welcome back to Hot Topics, brought to you by the City of Marinette. I'm Pete Schwabe, and okay, so for our next guest, this guy, I go back a ways with this guy. I'm very excited. You can read his work in the Eagle Herald, but today you can hear him right here on Hot Topics. He is nationally syndicated columnist Gregg Schimmer. Gregg, welcome.
Pete, how are you? Great to be with you.
You know what? It's so great because I haven't talked to you in a while, and I thought this is the perfect place to catch up with Gregg over the airwaves where other people can hear about our friendship.
Absolutely. All the folks in Marinette.
Yes, exactly. Marinette-Menominee. We've got quite a range here.
Yeah, Menominee too. Okay.
And now, refresh my memory. I used to book a comedy room here at the Best Western. Did you ever do that?
It does not sound familiar.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I didn't do it, but I don't remember ever being up in Marinette or Menominee.
You probably told me to take a hike, but you know what? I know you're a nationally syndicated columnist, but you'd probably be doing even better had you worked at Best Western here 30 years ago.
You know what? There are choices in life that you make and you regret them later, and I'm sure that's at the top of my list.
We all have them. So I loved your article. I've played some pickleball. This ran here in the local paper, the Eagle Herald. And I saw that you were writing about pickleball, and I'm like, this is so great. Tell me about how you found pickleball and what it means to you.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. As I said in the article, I think it was like one of the first sentences. I said I have myself have dubbed pickleball the sport the fastest growing sport for people whose bodies are too broken to attempt anything else. And that's kind of what did lead me to pickleball. It was actually my sister, who's a couple of years older than me. We're both in our mid to late 50s.
Sure.
And she picked it up, and she said, "You know, have you ever tried this sport?" And I'd heard about it, but I'm a tennis player. I've been playing tennis since I was 8 years old. And every time I looked at pickleball, it just looked like something that that tennis players would frown upon a little bit. So, and it also looked like it would be very hard to do both, to play tennis and to play that. So I never did it, and then I had some problems. Again, my body started breaking down. I had some foot problems, and I couldn't run enough to play tennis. So I thought, okay, I will give this a try. Plus, my sister was just raving about it, so I thought, all right, I'll pick up a paddle, I guess that's what you call it, and I will try to play.
And
so
I've
only played like 3 times, but it only took me, but the first time I played, I'm like, okay, this is enough for a column right there.
Right. And the funny thing, what I love about pickleball, Gregg, is the first time I saw it, I'm like, this is like ping pong for people who said this would be a better game if the table was on the floor. Like, there's no... It's
right.
just so bizarre.
And a little more racket space.
Yeah, like let's take all the athleticism out. You could now. Next thing is put a lazy boy recliner there or something and just swat it over the net. But
exactly.
But
yeah.
you're right.
I like it because it's really. I've never played a sport that I could. I'm not going to say I mastered it by any means, but where I could just dive right in and feel like I was pretty good at it. And I think it's only because I did play tennis. I think any time you play a sport with a racket, you can probably adapt to pickleball fairly easily.
Yeah, exactly. And, for someone like, I'm just guessing you still have all your NCAA eligibility remaining. I mean,
indeed, yeah.
Young people are not flocking.
In fact, that's why I have call waiting still on this phone, because the USTA could be calling any minute and saying, we could use you.
If that happens, I totally understand.
I might have to drop off.
Okay. So I'm talking with nationally syndicated columnist Gregg Schimmer. This is Hot Topics with Pete Schwabe, brought to you by the City of Marinette. Okay, so Gregg, you and I played golf years ago, and I have argued for years that golf is not really a sport. And I think if you saw me play, I think it was Paul Gilmartin and you and me playing, and I was horrible.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was awful. It was a Glen Woody golf course on the south side of Chicago, and they're probably still recovering from my...
Doesn't that have the one hole where you have, like, your second shot goes over like a waste dump or something? I really think there's a very unique hole on that course.
Yes, you have to put a hazmat suit on. It involves
a carry over trash, I think.
That's right. So, listen, I'm not saying I'm the greatest athlete in the world. I actually did, when I moved back to the Midwest, it's so cold here sometimes, I tried mall walking because I didn't want to walk outside, and I was the youngest person at the mall by decades, and I felt like an athlete. I just walked for an hour, and I'd say, on your left, and I was like, I felt like a stud. But reading this article, Gregg, I realized there is hope. It's not just shuffleboard. There are other sports for people, your age, and I'm a couple years younger.
There you go. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and you know what? I was sweating like a dog after about 90 minutes of this. I played, 4 matches, and even though if you watch videos of it, you think, okay, it's just 2 people just tapping a wiffle ball back and forth, or 4 people. You'd be surprised how much you sweat doing this. There's a lot of muscle groups involved.
You're absolutely right. It is a workout, and I don't mean to make light, because I've played and I have sweated, not like Frisbee Ultimate or anything, but you do get a pretty good workout.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Greg, you have many professions. Okay, we were both Chicago comics. Now you're a nationally syndicated columnist, an author, and I think you did a stint as a midwife for a while, if I'm not mistaken.
A doula, isn't that?
Oh, a doula, right? I'm sorry.
A doula, yeah. I delivered many babies.
Oh, well, so let me ask you, because the first time I saw your column, I was going through the local paper here, and I'm like, wait a minute, is there another Gregg Schimmer? No, that's my buddy, Gregg Schimmer. So tell me this, how did being a comic help you craft or hone your writing skills to the type of column you do now?
Well, it's interesting because my background is actually comedy came second. Journalism. I was a journalism major, and I actually worked at a newspaper. I was a journalist before I became a comedian. So,
okay.
I knew how to write, and then I dropped journalism to go into stand-up full-time, and then things kind of come full circle. I mean, I had a buddy of mine who I went to Northwestern with who worked at the Chicago Tribune, and he just called out of the blue one day, and he said, hey, we're looking for a humor columnist for the syndicated branch of the Tribune, and would you be interested? And so I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, sure. So the great thing is that really, when you're a comedian, you're basically always writing. You're writing in your head.
True.
If you're not writing stuff down on a notebook or on a computer and so forth. So I thought, really, writing this column has just helped me flesh out material that I can use on stage. I mean, the pickleball thing, and a lot of it depends on, when I post the columns online, how much reaction do I get? How many people comment on them? Because then I figure, okay, if I get 10, 20, 30 comments, then I'm on to a topic that is relevant. I sort of I kind of hit a nail. I hit a nerve with people, and that's the kind of stuff that'll end up in my act. So I am right now working on material about pickleball for my stand-up act.
You could just play a video of a bunch of people that are old playing pickleball. I would imagine that would get a few laughs.
Sit in my lazy boy. Yeah.
Sit in your lazy boy, right?
Right.
So
just fast forward and go, you got to see this.
That's right. So, okay. So
that's my ultimate dream comedy gig, just come out on stage, sit in a recliner, start video, and narrate it.
And you could start that this weekend, because I understand you have a gig coming up in Kenosha for another mutual friend of ours.
Kenosha. I believe it's the Wyndham Hotel in Kenosha on Friday and Saturday night. So it's nice because I don't do a lot of club dates anymore. I do primarily dates for business groups and big corporations and things like that. It's because, like, for example, I spent this morning writing material for the Occupational Chemist and Society of Organic Chemical Manufacturers Association. There you go.
That screams comedy.
SOCMA. That's the name of it. That's what they call it. SOCMA. SOCMA. So, when I'm not doing gigs for big, well-known audiences like SOCMA, right. Nice to exercise my club chops. So it's nice to go back to the clubs.
Well, that's what I love about, I mean, I haven't done stand-up regularly or for a living in years, but once you're a comic, you always do sort of consider yourself a comic. And when you do these dates...
Yeah, you never retire from being a comedian. I don't
Exactly. And like, you're not being paid to be here, spoiler alert. I imagine you're not going to retire early, work in K-Town this weekend, but it's something that draws you back. And what is that about? Is it just about getting laughs and feeling good about making people laugh?
You know what? I think it's about not just getting laughs. I think it's about having a skill that most people don't have and are envious of. And I look at that like, I wear that badge. I think comedians wear that badge very proudly. Like, we can it's like, really? You can just jump up on a stage and make strangers laugh? That is so cool. And I think that's what draws us back. We're like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I can. Watch me do it this weekend type of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and plus I just think, we live in a world where everybody needs to laugh. I think it's a profession that's always going to be around. People are always going to want to laugh. So, I mean, why not? If you are fortunate enough, like you and me are, to have a talent for doing it, why not exercise it whenever you can?
I have one more question for you because I know you have to get going. Is it easier being heckled by white-collar corporate people than it is by blue-collar people at the Funny Bone in Schaumburg?
You know what? I don't get heckled in the corporate environment. You know what?
Man,
it's only
be nice.
because these people that when you're in when you're performing for a bunch of people that are part of a 3-day conference, they know better because they're going to be around for those next 3 days.
Right.
So if I get the better of them, they're going to be the guy at the meeting every day that goes, you were the guy that the comedian made fun of, made look like an idiot. So corporate people, they kind of hold their tongues.
That's great. So you published a couple books. You want to give a quick push here for those?
Yeah, so I am the author of my latest book is called The Road to Success Goes Through the Salad Bar, which actually is the title of one of my columns, and then I fleshed it out into an entire book. And then my other book, which is a few years older, is called Text Me If You're Breathing, which I wrote once my kids started learning more about technology than I did and became the experts on it. So both of those are available on Amazon. Both make great Christmas gifts. Both have been voted most likely to appear on top of the toilet tank. So, yeah, I'm very proud of that.
I need something for the top of my toilet tank. That's fantastic. And I know you're being humble.
Especially with relatives coming to town. It's Thanksgiving, Pete.
If I hear them cracking up in the bathroom, I'll know a few things is happening.
Right.
But that's so great. And the people of Kenosha, I will say, are in for a treat. The very funny Gregg Schimmer joining me here on Hot Topics. Gregg, thanks so much. Keep up the great work.
My pleasure. Great talking to you, Pete.
You too, buddy. This has been Hot Topics with Pete Schwaba, brought to you by the City of Marinette on Hits 96 WSFQ. Thanks again for being with me, and please join me next week on Hot Topics. Oh, we have one more thing here. Melissa Epsch, ladies and gentlemen. Jump in here, Melissa.
Oh, hey, because, I like to be on the radio.
Okay. Who doesn't?
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to plug the fact that, one, we turn this into a podcast.
Okay.
So if you want to watch it or listen to it, they can find that on our city Facebook page.
Excellent.
As well as everything else that we talked about today.
Okay.
And in our future episodes, it can all be found online.
City of Marinette Facebook page.
City of Marinette Facebook page, marinette.wi.us. Hey, if you just want to call me,
Just call and talk to Melissa. Give her a like. Give her a verbal like.
Absolutely.
None of this clicking. Give it
No, just come on. My office door is always open. I'm always there. Okay. Well, I should be on the road. But anyways, yeah. So
Excellent.
We can be found everywhere.
Great point. Check us out on Facebook, folks. Hot Topics with Pete Schwaba, brought to you by the City of Marinette. We'll see you next week.